Good morning everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden. I hope you all are having a fantastic day today. Today I wanted to talk to you all about my cool flower planting plan for my new cut flower garden. Now, just as a little recap, I am the luckiest girl in the world. I was talking to my neighbor about wanting a little bit more space for planting a cut flower garden. And the first thing she says to me is, "Oh, I have family with more property that you could borrow." So she called her family up, asked them if I could borrow the property for a cut flower garden this upcoming fall, all the way through next season. And they are amazing and they said yes. So like I said, I am the luckiest girl alive. I'm so excited about it. I have been planning every night on the websites, on the seeds websites, on the cut flower garden websites. I'm so excited about it. And what I wanted to do today is I wanted to just go over some of the seeds that I've already purchased. Yes, I'm already purchasing seeds for my cut flower garden for next year. So what I'm planning to do is I'm planning to do a fall planting, and then I'm also planning to do like an early summer planting. So everything I'm talking about today is just for my fall planting. I live in Northern California, zone 9B, and so the cool flower method, I learned this method from Lisa Mason-Ziegler. I will link all her information down below, but she kind of developed the cool flower method, which is basically fall sowing of your seeds. And the way that she recommends that you do it, and this is what I did last season and it worked perfectly, is you sow your seeds and then a couple weeks before your first frost date, you put out little seedlings. And those little seedlings, they can't be too big, they can't be too small, but if they are in a lower growing zone, if they're hardy down to a lower growing zone than you're in, then those seedlings will last over the winter. And with the cold weather, they won't be growing up top. You know, there'll be no leafy growth, but there'll be a ton of root growth, which is really great because as soon as it warms up in, for us, late winter, early spring, the flowers just come alive. They have this wonderful root system and they bloom faster and they're more robust than seedlings that you planted early in the spring. So that is my plan for my big borrowed cut flower garden. I don't really know what to call it yet, but it's about 10 minutes drive from here, and then it's I'll put the dimensions on the screen right now, but one side is about 40 feet long, another side is about 36 feet long, and then the owners of the property, they have grandchildren that have a tiny little cut flower garden that's kind of cut out of my space. So it's kind of an L-shaped space, but it is like 5 times the amount of space that I have right now for my tiny cut flower garden. So I also have a small cut flower garden in my front yard. It is a 10 by 20 foot space, and I've been able to put so many flowers in it. And so I'm also planning on sowing flowers, cool flowers, in that cut flower garden as well. So I honestly think next spring, next late winter, next spring, I'm gonna have so many cut flowers and I'm so excited about it. So like I said, today I wanted to just go over with you all the seeds that I've bought. I have my seed saver box. I don't know what to call it. I have my seed saver box. This one's from Gardener Supply. I'm loving it. And I have all of my seeds all organized in here based on when I'm planning to sow them. So let's get into it. So depending on how long a seed takes to germinate and to develop is when you need to start sowing your seed before you plant it out for your cool flower method. So basically it's a matter of counting backwards. You have your first frost date, which for me is December 4th, and then you count back from that and you want to get your seedlings planted in the ground around 6 weeks before your first frost date. Because we are so warm here, we are warming up, our area is warming up. I feel like, and a lot of gardeners around here feel like, that our first frost date isn't valid anymore. So yes, our technical first frost date is December 4th, but it's staying warmer way longer into December. So instead of doing 6 weeks from December 4th, my plan is to do 5 weeks from December 4th, when I'm going to plant out all my little seedlings. And that will make sure that my plants aren't out in the heat for too long so they don't get too big, and then once the first frost comes they get completely damaged. So it's kind of a timing thing. If you all are noticing that your first frost date is coming later and later and later in the year, then you might want to do the same thing and kind of shorten the amount of time before you put your seedlings out. So December 4th, 5 weeks prior to that is when I'm planning to plant all my seedlings out. And then on that date, I count back depending on, just like if you were going to sow seeds in the spring and they say, sow your seeds 8 to 10 weeks before your last frost. So instead, I'm going to sow my seeds 8 to 10 weeks before that 5-week mark where I'm going to be planting out all my transplants. So I hope that that makes sense. And everything that I'm going to talk about today is based on that timing. And I'm going to go from the earliest, which I'm actually a couple days late already, if you can believe it. I need to get some seeds sown today, and then I'm going to go all the way through to where, I mean, there's a couple that I only have to do 3 weeks before planting out, like Centuria. There's a couple more. I'll get to it though. So the first group of seeds that I have that I needed to sow actually on August 7th, and today is the 12th. So I'm a little bit late right now, but that's okay. I'll get them in today. There's always a range. Those are Lizianthus and Delphinium. So both Lizianthus and Delphinium, they recommend planting out 12 weeks before, or excuse me, sowing 12 weeks before. And I'm getting all this information on the back of the packets. I got all my seeds from Johnny Seeds, right? And I'm just looking on the back of the package and I just kind of organized them all into groups. Now, I have never grown Lizianthus before. It is just one of those flowers that intimidates me to no end. It just feels like there are so many points where you can mess that flower up that I've always kind of shied away from it, and I've never actually tried it because I have such a small space here in my own property that I didn't want to waste any space with a flower that I was going to mess up, like Lizianthus. A lot of you have told me you've done Lizianthus before, and it's, you know, you can do it. It's doable. Now that I have extra space and I have the choice, you know, to expand my horizons, I'm so excited to be trying out Lizianthus. The 3 that I picked out, all from Johnny Seeds, are Arena Red, which actually I don't think is a red. It more looks like this like dusky pink color. Arena Apricot, and then Voyage White. So I'm really excited to try it because I'm doing fall sowing with Lizianthus, and that is not, it's not the recommended way to do it. A lot of these aren't recommended to do fall sowing, but I live in such a high zone, I kind of feel like I might be able to do it with every single one of these. So it is going to be a trial. You know, I know there's a lot of these that are going to be totally fine with the fall sowing, but a couple of them, you know, I can't find too much information on it. You know, maybe I'll find an article here or there that said, oh yeah, it's totally fine to do fall sowing for this one, but I'm just going to try it and see how it does in my climate. So I have those 3 Lizianthus. Then I have Delphinium Belladonna, and I did Delphinium Magic Fountains mix last year with the Cool Flower method. So incredibly beautiful, and they kept blooming. I mean, if I left those plants in my cut flower garden, I feel like they would still keep blooming. They are so beautiful. I had the best luck with the Magic Fountains mix. I had the best luck with the blue varieties. There was a dark blue and there was a light blue. And when I'm looking at the Belladonna mix, those look like the, you know, the varieties that did so well for me in that Magic Fountains mix. So that's why I got the Delphinium Belladonna, and I'm going to try that as well. And that one is you sow it 12 weeks before planting out, which is crazy. That is 3 months that it's going to be sitting there under your grow lights, which I think is insane. It's going to be a part of your home decor eventually. So those are the ones that I need to get sowing later today. Okay, so then I get a little bit of a break until the end of August, which is when I sow all my Snapdragons. And I love Snapdragons. I always do Snapdragons because I think that they're just one of those flowers that you can just totally depend on. I think Snapdragons, if you're a beginner cut flower gardener, starting off with Snapdragons is just going to bring you so much reward. I was so proud of myself for being able to grow Snapdragons that I just think that I'll grow them every year from now on. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 9 different varieties. You guys, this is crazy. Like, I pick and choose my varieties because I have such a small property here. I'm in the middle of a neighborhood, and to be able to choose 9 different varieties of Snapdragons, it's mind-blowing for me. So I'm so excited about this. It was so fun to go through and to pick out all these different varieties. So we'll see how it goes. I don't even have the whole layout figured out yet, just because the area I've only pasted off with my feet. I haven't actually measured it. So I need to go out there and I need to actually measure it and see how many rows I'm gonna have and how much each of all of these I'm gonna do. So let me go through the varieties of the Snapdragons. I have Madame Butterfly Mix. This one is going to be for my own personal cut flower garden. Then I have Bridal Pink, which I did earlier this year, that was gorgeous, so beautiful. I did Potomac Apple Blossom, which is one that I did last year as well, and it didn't do as well. So I'm going to try it again. These are seeds that I had left over from last year. I'm going to try it again, see if it does a little bit better for me this year. I have Costa Silver, so beautiful. Madame Butterfly Rose. Oh, it's going to be so pretty. I'm obsessed with this color. This color reminds me of the Lizianthus Arena Red, so I'm really excited about that. Then I have Madame Butterfly Red, Chantilly Bronze, Legend Light Pink, and Orleans Early Lemon Yellow, which I thought was so cool as well. So yeah, so I'm going to sow these at the end of August and then plant them out 5 weeks before my last frost date. So my next round of sowing is going to be about the 2nd week of September, and for this round I'm going to be focusing on Campanula or Bellflower. I have some Aster that I'm going to try out, and then I also have some Scabiosa. So let's see, for the Campanula first I have Champion White, which I think is gorgeous, and then I also have Champion Lavender, which is going to be really pretty, and then Champion Pink. And I actually saw Champion Pink in a garden tour here in my town, and it was so pretty. I was like, what is that? And then when I found out that it was the Bellflower, I'm really excited to get it. So I've actually never grown Campanula before or Bellflower, so I'm pretty excited to see how it does. Then I'm going to do King Size Apricot Aster, which is my tried and true. I absolutely love the color of this Aster. It is so beautiful. I sowed these this year, but I didn't sow them until the spring. And so they started blooming kind of in the summer as it got hotter. And I could tell that they were not happy. They scorched. They did nowhere near as well as they did when I sowed them in the winter for the cool flower method. So I'm really excited to do these because I think that at least the king size apricot aster do really well with cooler weather. Now I'm doing a lavender aster, lady coral lavender aster right now in my cut flower garden, and it's happy as a clam. It is so incredibly beautiful. So I think it just kind of depends on you know, your climate, how hot you get, and the certain varieties. So king size apricot aster I think likes a little bit cooler weather. Okay, let's see. I have sweet white Dianthus, which I'm actually going to put in my own personal cut flower garden. I already talked to you all about that. But in my big cut flower garden, I don't know what to call it. In the big cut flower garden, I chose a Dianthus called Chabot La France. Oh, I'm so excited about this one. I think it'll be really, really pretty. It's supposed to have a really nice, beautiful smell. So I'm really excited to see how it does. So we'll see. Okay, then I have a bunch of Scabiosa. I have Fama White, Snow Maiden, which I thought was beautiful, Salmon Rose, Fama Deep Blue, and then I have a Bonita Shell Pink, which I wasn't familiar with. I saw it on the Johnny's website and I just, you know, I had to have it. So I'm so spoiled, you guys. I totally get, I'm so spoiled that I have so much room that I can just go through and pick what I want. Then I have my Bells of Ireland that I harvested this year from my flowers. I find harvesting seeds from your Bells of Ireland are so easy, and for some reason these are really hard to get a hold of. They're often sold out on the websites. So I'm going to do these. There's a special way that I germinate these, and that is in a wet paper towel in a plastic bag. It is the only way that I can get these guys germinated. It's impossible for me to do it any other way. I think it's because they have such a hard outer casing or shell that they need that constant moisture to be able to germinate. So I'll show you guys when I get to this. Okay, so about a week after I sow my scabiosa and I sow my campanula, then I'm gonna start, I have this round. And so this one I did September 18th. You know, it's about around September 18th is how I'm gonna do it. So for this round, I have a bunch of larkspur, and these, I did larkspur, I've done larkspur the past 2 years. They're beautiful. I have a hard time putting them in arrangements, but I really want to work on it. But one thing about larkspur, it's really good for dried flowers, and I've done that before, so that's something that I definitely want to do with all these varieties here. So I have QIS light pink, QIS white, and QIS dark blue, which is what I did this past year, and it was beautiful. So let's see. Then I'm also going to do some Perennial Lupine, which I'm very excited about. I think that that will be beautiful, and to be dedicated to cut flowers. You know, I think lupine, it's so beautiful in the garden. I never want to cut it, but if I have it in my cut flower garden and it's meant for cutting, I'm so excited to put that in some arrangements. I think it's going to be beautiful. Then I have Syrinthi Kiwi Blue as a filler, which I think will be really interesting. I'm always on the lookout for really good fillers. I haven't found a filler that I absolutely love. My absolute favorite filler that I have is actually my honeysuckle vines. I love the arching movement of it. I think it's so beautiful, and I have tons of it in my backyard. So I lean on my honeysuckle vines very heavily, but I would love to find a filler that kind of had that same feel that I could just, you know, always go to. It's my go-to. I'm so happy with it all the time. This year I'm doing this summer, I'm doing Mrs. Burns Lemon Ornamental Basil, and I love it. It's so beautiful. It smells divine. I can't even tell you all how good it smells. But it does have a very upright, straight habit. So a lot of my arrangements look very upright and straight, and I really like arrangements when they're kind of arching a little bit more. So I want to find one that's a little bit arching. So we'll see about this Syrinthi Kiwi Blue. Then I have Feverfew Magic Single. I think that's what it's called. That's what I wrote down. So Feverfew. Then I have a bunch of different stock. I have Stock Antique Pink, Stock Cats Yellow, Stock Cats Bright Rose, and Stock Cats Lavender. I've never grown stock before. I'm growing it in my own personal, my small cut flower garden as well. And so I'm just really excited to see how it does. I know stock is a, you know, cut once and then you're done. So I'm thinking about doing, maybe I'll do fall sowing and then also do another round of spring sowing just so I have more, but we'll see. We'll play with it. Okay, so then I have some Prairie Sun Rudbeckia, and that's just because I had leftover seeds from last year. I love Prairie Sun Rudbeckia. I did do the cool flower planting method for Prairie Sun Rudbeckia, but it took a very, very long time for it to start blooming. But once it did start blooming, it still hasn't stopped. It literally is still in my cut flower garden right now, and I sowed it last November. So it is a workhorse of a flower. It's absolutely beautiful, and I'm excited to put it in the big property. Okay, then I have some Cosmos, of course. I have Afternoon White, which is kind of like my, my king size apricot. It's just the most beautiful one, I think, in my opinion. I think it's so beautiful, and I think it does so well in arrangements. Then I have Cosmo Sensation Mix, which again is just a mix, and I think it should be beautiful. Okay, so moving on, the next round is the end of September, so I'm going to be doing a lot of sowing in September, I can see. I have some Ami Green Mist. I actually think this is going in my own personal cut flower garden, but the main thing that I'm sowing at this round is sweet peas. So sweet peas, fall sowing, it is the most important thing. If you live in a warm zone like I do, and you have, you know, you have your cool weather, and then it hits and it gets hot and it starts getting really, really hot really early on in the season, I would totally recommend fall sowing your sweet peas. It made all the difference in the world for me. I have tried it both ways. I've tried it really early, sowing really early in the spring, and the plants just don't mature fast enough before we get too hot, and it just sizzles out, like literally sizzles, right? And gets burnt tips and everything like that. Now, last year I did fall sowing of my sweet peas, and it made such a beautiful difference. The plants were established and they were already blooming by the time it started getting warm, and so they could handle the heat that the little baby plants could not handle. So fall sowing sweet peas is an absolute for me, and I have lots and lots and lots of different varieties because I think that they're so beautiful, and the smell, I mean, it's probably one of my favorite smells in the world. I just love it. So I have the Elegance formula. This is going in my personal cut flower garden. Elegance watermelon personal cut flower garden. And then I have, let's see, Enchante. Yes, I think it's like a little lavender, kind of like a dusky lavender. Elegance Salmon Rose. And then, let's see, Mammoth Choice Mix, which was left over from seeds that I had last year. So I did the Mammoth Choice Mix as fall sowing, and so I had flowers earlier this year. Absolutely gorgeous. I loved it. Then I have some other varieties. I have Calendula Ivory Princess. I've never done calendula before, but I'm excited to try it. I have Persian Cress as another filler, so I'm interested to see how that looks once I actually get it growing in my own garden and how it looks in my arrangements. I'm really excited to see how it does. I have a Status mix, which I'm excited about for dried flowers. I think I'm going to use almost all of my Status. I'm going to dry it all so that I can make, you know, wreaths and like arrangements for dried flowers because I love doing that as well. So I'm excited about that. Then I have a straw flower. It's Apricot Peach Straw Flower. That should be interesting. I've never done that. Yeah, and then more of the Ami. So the Ami is one that I also use as a filler. I have the Green Mist and the White Dill, and I love them both. I love the White Dill. The White Dill is the only one that I've actually grown myself, but I found myself harvesting the White Dill Ami before it was ready to be harvested, when it was still green, because I wanted that green filler, you know, in the shape of the sprays you'll see in the picture right here. I wanted it green, and so I figured I would do both of them because some of my bouquets I wanted white and some of my bouquets I wanted green. So that is a really, really good filler. I don't love it as much as the honeysuckle, but I really, really do love it. Okay, and so for my last round, it's only about 3 weeks before I'm going to be planting my little seedlings out, and those are, like I said, Centuria. I have Centuria Choice Mix, I have Centuria Florist Blue Boy, and then Centuria Classic Magic. And Centuria is also known as Bachelor's Button. It's not my most favorite flower. It's, you know, it's this tiny little flower. You know, if you got a ton of them, you could use them kind of as a filler, but they're such a pain in the butt to harvest that I don't really lean heavily on them. The reason why I grow them is that they're so easy to grow, and they are hands down by far the first flower to bloom in my garden in the winter. And it is so wonderful to see those colorful blooms, you know, in the dreary days of winter. You know, it's like, okay, spring's coming. So no matter what, I always do Centuria or Bachelor Button because I just love seeing that color in the early season. So I'm excited to do it. I think it's a really good beginner flower, cut flower, just like the Snapdragons are a really good beginner flower. Centuria Bachelor Button is a really good one that's basically almost foolproof. So if you're new for cut flower gardening, I would definitely lean heavily on those two. So yeah, so that is my plan for my cool flower sowing for my big cut flower garden, my borrowed cut flower garden, the big property. I don't know what to call it, but I have my own personal one, and then I have the big one. And so I have big plans for the big one. I'm so excited about it. I think I also want to make some more tutors. So I've made my own tutor in my backyard. I've painted it white, and then I made one for my parents. I do have some more wood in my backyard, and I'm thinking about making a couple of those tutors to put in the big cut flower garden, and maybe put I don't know, maybe put the sweet peas on it. I don't know. I haven't totally decided yet, but I have all winter to kind of mess with that kind of stuff. So yeah, like I said, I have lots of plans for it. I even wore my cut flower garden shirt today, just to celebrate this big excitement of my new cut flower garden and my new adventure that I'm planning to do this year. So later today, it'll be a different video. I will start sowing my Lizianthus, and I will start sowing my Delphiniums, and I'm going to be trying soil blocking. So I'm going to practice a little bit before I film that video. So I hope you all enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments section if you can think of any other flowers that you think I should be adding in. Hopefully I have space. We'll see. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a chance to get into your garden today.